but they've got it backward. Champions are missing something that everybody else has, which is an off switch.
So true. In order to become a champion, you certainly lose an off switch.
But you lose everything except for the pursuit. Everything becomes sacrificed. Your friends, your family, your social life, your sex life. If you're prepared to make that sacrifice, the likelihood is that you'll be beaten by somebody that is prepared to make that sacrifice.
Chris Williamson, host of Modern Wisdom, one of the biggest self-improvement podcasts in the world. If you want better focus, better habits, and a stronger mindset, this episode is for you.
Do you think arrogance is important to become the GOAT?
Oh yeah, you need to believe that you can do something that's never been done before. And the only way that you can do that is to kind of have a type of delusion. All that success is appropriate strategy, good timing and consistency for a significantly long enough duration. Largely anybody can achieve success.
Do you think it's good to show vulnerability or no?
I think vulnerability is the only way that you can have true strength. I think if there's nothing on the line, if you're not risking anything, then there's no such thing as courage. Courage is being scared and doing it anyway. A lot of people see vulnerability as crying, oversharing emotions unnecessarily. And it's not. It's saying what's true for you, regardless of how scary it feels.
If you show a lot of emotion, people stop relying on you too much.
A lot of hard-charging, ambitious people use the mantra, your feelings just work harder, to get them to push aside their emotions in order to keep on with the mission. That's great. And I think that that is a huge step that lots of people can take.
Men choose their partner based on who's going to elevate their status in terms of looks. Women choose their partner based on power. Do you think that's true?
It seems to show up in the data that men are more concerned with looks than women are on average, and that women are more concerned with resources and status than men are.
How would you define yourself? Who are you, and why should they care about what you say?
I'm a person who was very confused about himself for a long time, and kind of like a olden style explorer going and investigating some ancient tomb. I tried to work out who I was, and I still haven't done it, but I've got a lot closer. And I'm strange. I'm a weird guy, but I'm representative of normal people enough that many of the questions that I ask myself are questions that other people ask themselves too. So my body of work is a personal exploration masquerading as a podcast. And if you listen to it, you'll probably learn something about yourself too, because I'm not that different to you. I'm just different enough to talk about it.
Nice. You have shaped so many good things in my life, and you have damaged equally.
Okay. Tell me what I've damaged first.
I'll tell you both, right?
All right.
Because when I started my podcast, I used to watch a lot of podcasts, and you, Steven, specifically, both of you, I used to watch a lot. And because of that, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned to introspect. I've learned to love myself. I've learned to actually question people. I think my way of understanding, listening, sitting down, researching, a lot of things come from your and Steven's work, right?
Yep.
Even though we all started almost at the same time, but I used to get inspired a lot. So it has helped me a lot in my personal life. But because I'm also a podcaster, it came to a point where I could see that I'm not me. I'm just you or Steven. It started destroying me and damaging me in a point
puppeted a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
So
did you develop a British accent?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Not yet. But then my way of asking questions, my way of researching, my way of approaching things just became you and him. And I was like this needs to be.
Well, all right. So I understand why. You want originality, right? You want to feel like I'm doing my own thing. But there's a great line that says originality is just undetected plagiarism. And I was influenced by Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Ben Shapiro, Alain de Botton from the School of Life. I was very influenced by them too. And then you try to do your version of something that you like, because there's no rules to this. You go and become a NFL star, and there's component skills. There's a very linear track of, okay, what are the component parts that I need to learn in order for me to be able to become good at this thing that I want to do? The same thing isn't true with podcasting. So you learn by listening to people that you like, and why do I get on with them, and so on and so forth. and then you make it your own. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be, LARPing, copycatting somebody else up until the point at which you then make it into your own and it becomes different.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also believe that copying is good. I think there's nothing like original thinking. It's all influential thinking. You get influence and you do things. Everything that you learn, whether it's writing, painting, talking, you all learn by copying. So I believe in that. But it came to a point where, like, after a point, you need to figure out maybe what's your style, what your country's style is, what your audience wants, there's a mix of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you learn the rules so that you can then break the rules. But if you don't learn the rules first, you're just not playing the game.
True.
Makes sense?
True.
Yeah.
True. So I learned with you guys, and then I stopped, like, since last, I think, a year and a half, or maybe something like that. 18 months, I've just stopped watching it, like purposely trying to not watch you.
Yeah, you need to be less influenced. Yeah. Very good. Well, that's why my viewer numbers will be down, but I understand.
But yeah, that's what the damage part was. So now in 18 months, I've been unlearning what you guys do well.
Good man.
So that's what I've heard. See, you've sat with like very high achievers in your life, right? And tons of them. I've done the same thing. And what my experience have been by just noticing them is even after achieving the world, there's still this kid who's like, it's not enough. They give them a different tag, a different version, or maybe saving the world or whatever they want to give it. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's societal, sometimes it's just about country, whatever. They can tag it differently. But at the end of the day, they're still chasing and they're running that feeling of not being enough.
Well, what was it that I said? The driving forces of you at 18 and 28 and 38 and 48, they tend to be the same. And that means that if you don't feel enough at 18, that's going to keep on going. And what people do, kind of like a hungry ghost, they assume, well, if I just achieve enough, I'll fix this internal void. You can take external success, grab it and shove it into this hole. And that'll make it feel okay. Now, it's my current belief that you need to achieve your goals, but the only reason to achieve them is so that you're free of them. Answer. But you can't skip that point. I don't think that you can speed run through, I thought it was a Ferrari. I thought when I got the Ferrari that everything would be fixed. You can't leapfrog that. You have to get the Ferrari, realize that you're still unsatisfied, realize that you need to do deeper work, and then close the loop. You go, okay, right, the Ferrari can go away. And then we move on to what's deeper, and then we move on to what's deeper. But you're right. The richest people on the planet, the highest performers, the best sports stars, the most successful business people, all should be looked at with more pity than envy. What's happened to you that's caused you to drive yourself this hard? This isn't everyone. Obviously, there are some people out there who are just lovers of their pursuit. And it's a well-balanced desire to maximize their time on this planet and enjoy the pursuits that they do. But if I was to place a bet, I would guess that most high performers are driven by a fear of not being enough, as opposed to the inner desire to simply maximize their time. And fulfill their logos and speak their truth forward and, alchemize their life. I don't think it's that for most people. And that means that when you look at the people who are unbelievably successful and drive themselves so hard, do I want to be that person? Probably not. What do you think's driving them to do that to themselves? To have worked so hard to have built $1 billion company? Like, why? What do you think? Why were you not done at 10 million or 1 million? Why were you not enough already? And again, that's not to say that people can't become successful from a balanced place, but I do think, I'm going to guess in your experience too, when you sit down opposite these people, most of them are driven by this insatiable hunger to prove to the world that they matter. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. Have you met anyone who's number one in whatever they do? I'm not talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
I'm talking about number one in whatever field. They are number one, they're still to be number one, and they're balanced.
But I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods in the news again last week as we record. He flipped a car for like the second time. Didn't he break both of his legs not long ago in a car crash or something? He fell asleep at the wheel or he's by the side of the road. That guy's the GOAT. He's the GOAT of golf. But what does it take in order to do that to yourself, to become that good at one thing? Michael Jordan. You ever seen Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame acceptance speech? So he basically, this is his crowning achievement. I think it was 1992 or 1993. Michael Jordan's crowning achievement toward the end of his career. And he spends almost the entire speech calling out all of the people that didn't believe him. Like litigating these disputes between people that he felt had slighted him in his past. That was how driven by revenge and competition and pain he was, that even in the greatest moment of glory, he still needed to find enemies and competitions and rivalries to keep pushing him.
And after that, that's why a lot of them they don't start feeling the same way. They stop feeling the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, do you care about rankings?
I was number 8 in the world last year. That was cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm not number 7 or lower this year, that'll feel like a failure, which is strange, right? You know, the higher you climb, the further you have to fall. I don't know. It was nice, but I didn't think about it. Like, especially now, dude, especially after getting into the top 10 globally, like, what else have I got to prove? Is number 7 really going to feel that different to number 8? Or is number 6 really going to... Number 1 would feel very special, but there's only one place to go from number 1, right? You can only go backward from there. And maybe this is my inner desire not to fail showing again, but it was great. I feel very proud of getting to number 8. I thought that was awesome. But if I never charted in the top 10 again for the rest of my career, I wouldn't see it as a failure. I love the conversations that I have. I really enjoy what I do. I think that they make the world a better place. I think that they help people to understand themselves. I think they make them less alone. Fuck. Like, I did my show, I did Modern Wisdom before anybody listened. And I'll do it long after everyone has stopped listening as well. I just enjoy what I do. I like these conversations. I think they're important. It doesn't matter.
Out of all the people who you have met in terms of podcasters, who do you think really badly wants to be number 1? Actually cares about it?
I think Joe really doesn't. He's the most unlikely number 1. I think Stephen Bartlett is driving very hard for growth. That's his thing. You know, he's the Mr. Beast of podcasting. And he's done a phenomenal job of working out the component parts of growth and then really driving it forward. Mel Robbins is super, super ambitious, and that's very, very impressive. But then there's other people that are probably going to be in the top 10 this year, like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Dillon. There's lots of people that are really great at what they're doing and don't give a fuck about the ranking, or almost anti-ranking. But yeah, I think Stephen, Mel, you know, like a lot of that LA energy, Lewis Howes, Tom Bilyeu, Jay Shetty, you know, these guys. But think about that. Like me, Jay, Stephen, that's 3 British people in the top 10 globally. So maybe the UK maybe we are showering ourselves in glory. I don't know.
You'll see us Indians in the top 10 as well.
Good.
Soon.
Good.
We're going to be there. You know, I was speaking to someone, an executive at Spotify, and I was asking them, like, do people or podcasters or just singers or pop stars or rappers, do they care about being in top 10? They're like, nobody cares apart from the month of the list. He's like, in the month of the list, there are people who would care about when the list is about to happen because they know that. So they really go nuts. They're almost like paranoid about it. And they're asking them, calling them again, trying to get the numbers and trying to figure out what their stance is. And then there are people who sulk it for a month after the list comes. And then everybody disappears. And then I was like, this is interesting. And they all were like, this is what one of the people said, and I think there's truth in it, said, the number 1 in all the categories almost doesn't care.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But they know from the demeanor that the day they lose it, they're going to lose a lot.
Of course. Well, you know, the loss aversion as a psychological bias, right? If I was to give you £5, that's great. But if you were to lose £5, that would be more painful than the gifting of finding £5. And it's the same with, there's a line from a John Bellion and Luke Combs song, which says, if the higher I climb is the further I fall, then why love anything at all? And he's talking about opening his heart to another person, a relationship. But the same thing is true in success as well. If the higher you climb is the further you fall, then why achieve anything at all? because as soon as you become number one, you're terrified of losing it. There is no end to this. And this is why, you know, this is why I'm glad. I haven't thought about it this way, but I'm really glad that I managed to surprise myself by charting last year. So I'm like, dude, I fucking did top 10. You know, top 10 in the world in anything is fucking crazy. And I'm really glad that I did it. And I felt no different the day after the day that I found out than the day before the day that I found out. Nothing materially changed about my life. Maybe we've found it easier to book some guests this year or something like that. But come on, like, is that really I probably would have got there in any case. So we would just sent a few more emails or got a better connection or spoken to the partner, and it would have taken longer or something.
Do you think is that, again, like, a very interesting point I'm just thinking about. That's the way you think right now about, let's say, the hustle, the number one, the ambition and all of that. It has a lot to do with the way a lot of Western world thinks. Like
Meritocracy.
No, like what I meant by this, like in the Western world, there's a whole of a spike in understanding meaningfulness, purpose, enjoying what you do. Like, you know, this mindfulness.
Well, that's
idea,
gone,
right?
That's increased in line with the decrease of religion. I think as people have lost religion, they're trying to find meaning in other places.
Okay.
And they were trying to find it in what capitalism promised. And they've done that and they've found it lacking. Some people have found it lacking. And they're now asking themselves, what's the next thing? That's where meditation comes from. That's where journaling, mindfulness, gratitude, yoga, stoicism, you know, these are all secular solutions to what were previously religious questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going on, at least in part.
Okay. But my question was more on, if you compare it with the Eastern world right now, right? And I'm not going to say Eastern as well, even the African, like, just, okay. Think about both of these worlds. If you look at India, you look at China, you look at Africa, all of the people here, like most of it, the national character almost is about go for the win, hustle hard, be like really, forget like work-life balance. You need to be number one. It's over time. You know, like this hustle. Versus you think about Western world, they're like mindfulness and then all of this, right? And that's why it's great. Like Steven optimizes for it, Joe doesn't, right? You know,
Yep.
There's a lot to it. Do you think both of these civilizations are wanting something they already had, but it's like grass is the greener?
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. No, I see exactly what you mean. You might be right. You might be right.
Like India and China, specifically India, I can talk about. We have a great history of yoga, meditation. All of these are like, we have given this to the world. And now it's almost like we want what you guys had. Like the hustle culture, the like meritocracy. Like I want to go for the ambition, and the world is going to be my playground. Versus you guys want what I had. Yeah, like
grass is always greener, dude. Grass is always greener. Yeah. If you have done something. Also, I guess as you've got a globalized world, you begin to just look outside. It's the same thing as if you ate a really great meal, but that was the only meal that you ate for the rest of your life. You'd probably get bored of it. I mean, there's a lot of options here. I should try something different. And you should try something different can often mean I should do something different, right? I'm going to try a different path. I'm going to try and fulfill myself in a different way. And it's a really lovely duality that the East had peace and is seeking achievement, and the West had achievement and is seeking peace. I think you're bang on with that.
What do you think humans need then?
Both. I think you need both, right? We're a social species, and you can't beat the biology, and the psychology is just the biology, right? You can't beat a few million years of evolution that's made us care about the opinions of others, want to feel like we're progressing, achievement, status, recognition, renown, respect, admiration from people that we admire. These things are deeply, deeply rooted in us, and they're easy routes, easy paths toward feeling good about yourself. And so you should get them. But the problem is assuming that that is the end of the game, or assuming that you need an infinite amount of that in order to feel fulfilled. And that's where people get stuck. But the same thing is true on the other side, that if you just try to become an ascetic, live in a cave in the woods, renounce all worldly possessions, I think you're going to struggle. I think that a lot of people are not built for that. The level of mindfulness that you need to do, your 10,000 hours needs to be multiplied by 10 in order to be able to get there. And most people can't. So for me, I think trying to play within the confines of a game, and this is different. I'm a little older now. I'm 38, which means the energy that I bring to my pursuits at 38 is different to what it was at 28. 28 was very much hustle, like deny how I bleed, deny how I feel, work until my eyes bleed, spit, sawdust. I want to do the thing. But part of the reason that you wanted to work so hard is so that you don't need to work so hard in future. If all that you do is work really hard so that in the future you can work hard with leverage, fine, maybe you love what you do and stuff, but even after that, okay, the rest of your life is going to be this. That's the one pathway that you have found, is to just crush it and be competitive and face other people. And you're always, okay, well, maybe there's something else. And I think a lot of people achieve a level of success. I was with Chris Hemsworth in Australia a week and a bit ago. Me, him, both of his brothers, and a friend of his with a couple of my guys. We flew to Byron Bay from Brisbane for the day. And we spent an afternoon with him and his boys. All they wanted to talk about was this. All they wanted to talk about is the third passage, right? The middle way. I've done a lot of what the world told me I should achieve. I'm interested in what's beyond that. I'm interested in what is post-success. And not, trying to turn success into more success, but in an easier way. But do you know the idea of false peaks in mountaineering? So imagine that you're trying to get to the highest point that you can in a mountain range, and you climb up a big hill and you get to the top and you go, wow, I'm really, really high. That is your local maxima. But your global maxima, if you were to take a broader perspective, if you were to look out across the vista and see, oh, there's a higher mountain over there. But in order for me to get there, I need to descend this one. I need to go down. So that's a false peak. Or technically a false peak would be climbing a mountain, getting to the top of a hill and realizing that in order to get to the top of the mountain, you need to go back down, to go back up, to go back down. And I think a lot of the time what people have discovered are false peaks. They've achieved something that they thought would bring them a level of success and happiness. And it didn't, and it's an interesting question that a lot of guys, in my 20s, I asked myself, at the end of my 20s, I asked myself, who would I be if I was able to determine my life however I wanted? That was a big question. I don't want to be constrained by my habits, by my patterns, by the opinions of others. And that caused me to change myself a lot. And that was great. And now I'm asking myself a deeper question, I think, or maybe just a different question, which is, who would I be if I wasn't constrained by the need to perform, if I wasn't constrained by the need to be seen as successful? And maybe this is why I'm never going to become a billionaire. I have no desire to become a billionaire.
But why?
I don't know. I'm more interested in other things.
Like?
Experience. I want to start a family, experiencing some deep peace, varying my life, connecting with my friends, giving spaciousness so that I can explore my own mind. That seems interesting to me. And I'm fortunate that what I do with the show allows me to do both things at once. I have a great wealth making vehicle that is very successful and reaches lots of people and impacts the world. Like, it's so many things, and also is a vehicle for personal growth. It's also this sort of transformation technology that selfishly is all about me. I get to bring on whoever I'm interested in to specifically talk on the very problem that I'm struggling with right now. And then I leave, and it's called a job. I went to work that day, but what I really did was selfishly ask a bunch of questions that I want to know about my next stage of personal transformation. And that feels like a weird hack. Whatever me and you do is a very strange glitch in the matrix that we've managed to sort of inject ourselves into the middle of. But yeah, I have no desire to become a billionaire. And I mean, the likelihood of me becoming a billionaire is probably very low in any case. I'm not like I'm choosing to not be a billionaire. Oh, no, not for me. Not for me, thank you. I'm not choosing to not be a billionaire, but just even the energy I look at the energy that would be required to get to that. I mean, sometimes you can fluke it, like Newtonic, right? This energy drink company that I've got, Smarter Energy Drink. It's brilliant. And maybe we'll have, I'd give it a 30% chance that we have a really, really large exit with that. Like a generational wealth sized exit. We've just raised 6 million on 60, and by the end of the year it'll be valued at $100 million. Fucking brilliant, right? Really cool, super exciting. So maybe some vote, but if I do that, am I going to desperately be ready to run it back, to fold my payout, whatever I get from it, into the I must turn it into I must 10x my 10x, no. And this is why I saw this really great tweet that said, the more I heal, the less I'm ambitious. And I think it's so fucking great. And it speaks to what you were talking about before. Alex Hormozi, one of my really good friends, he's got this line where he says, people try to look at champions to work out what they have that other people are missing, but they've got it backward. Champions are missing something that everybody else has, which is an off switch.
So true. In order to become a champion, you you certainly lose an off switch.
But you lose everything except for the pursuit, right? Everything becomes sacrificed, because if you're prepared to make a trade from your primary pursuit for something which doesn't contribute to it, your friends, your family, your social life, your sex life, your financial position, your health, if you're prepared to make that sacrifice, the likelihood is that you'll be beaten by somebody that is prepared to make that sacrifice. Eddie Hall, World's Strongest Man, British guy. I think he won World's Strongest Man in 2018. So you see him at the very end. He's been working toward this thing for, a decade, something more. And he's holding this trophy in the air, and he's saying, Nana, grandma in British, Nana, this is for you. His grandma passed away at some point recently, and he's crying, and he retires. He retires on the podium, basically. He retires. That's it. I'm done. Won once. And in an interview that I saw with him a little while afterward, he said, if I hadn't retired when I won World's Strongest Man, I would be dead, divorced, with no relationship to my kids, because he was 180 kilos at 6'4", with blood pressure that would power a fucking jet engine. And he was working so hard and pushing himself with performance enhancing drugs and eating all this food and training all this time that his relationship with his wife was falling apart, and he didn't have any time to see his kid. In order for you to beat Eddie Hall, you need to sacrifice everything that Eddie is prepared to sacrifice, which was everything, which was his health, his family, his wife, his partnership, everything. He was prepared to sacrifice it all. The only way that you can do it without sacrificing everything is to be so good that you have additional capacity, that your 98% is better than his 101%. But most people aren't, right? And even if that is the case, who's to say that there isn't someone that's more talented than you that's going to give 99 or 100 or 101, and now your 98 is exactly the reason that you lost? And you never know. You never know whether or not that person, like, how good am I really? Am I a generational talent? No, you just give everything. It's that maniacal focus that pushes people forward. And that's what we raise up. That's why Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, right? An amazing documentary series on Netflix. So cool. Do you want to be Michael Jordan? I don't want to be Michael Jordan. I mean, I respect and admire, and he's so cool to see what he did during his career, but he's still ravaged by that same competitive drive. And that's tough. That's tough. And he alchemized it into something great. Now, the worst position to be in is to have that competitive drive, but not the discipline to deploy it. That's when you're ruthless, because you are going to spend your entire life feeling like you didn't fulfill your potential. You want this thing and you can't get it. And that has to be way more of the champions that never were, that we never even learn about, right? Because there can only be one, number one. I don't know. I'm fascinated by this conversation. I'm fascinated by this question. I think it's very, very interesting.
It's every time I think about it, because I believe from a very long time, from a very young age, I'm usually on the other hand. I'm one of those who's like extremely driven, and it, apart from like few moments in a year, like not even like a day or a month, or like apart from a few moments in a year, I don't even realize that it's all a sacrifice. Like I'm so blinded by probably some wound in my childhood which has caused me to be like this, that I'm just so driven. And every time I think about it, I think like, and every time I meet a champion, and this is very strong feeling for like 4 days after meeting Michael Phelps, that, you know, champions have only one thing which you want. That's a championship trophy. And champions don't have everything that you want, that you have. Like champions are thinking that they just have one thing and they don't have anything at all.
Yeah.
And you have everything and you're not cherishing it because you want that one thing.
Correct.
So it's like 1 versus 100, and you still want that one because probably some wound or some society or somebody around you has made you believe that one thing is way more important than the 100 that you have.
So good. Such a great point. And I think Michael Phelps is a really great example of that too. I've heard that he is very sort of driven by that not enoughness energy. One interesting element on this is, I don't want to demonize all ambition and drive. I think it's very, very important and great. Like, go and win the thing. Just know that it isn't going to be the end. It's not going to fix everything. There are other pathways to your fulfillment that you need to spend some time on. But there is a relationship between discipline, motivation, and obsession, right? So discipline is, I will make myself do the thing. Motivation is, I want to do the thing. And obsession is, I can't not do the thing. And a lot of people look at people who are now disciplined, and what they don't realize is that their current discipline is just the echo of a past obsession. So for me, going to the gym and training, I started when I was 17. I was really obsessed with going to the gym. Obsession's strange. You can't really engineer obsession. Obsession is this weird alignment of predisposition, opportunity, desire, a little bit of wounding, some motivation, social influence. You know, it's this strange blend of everything together. And what happens after a while, obsession cools off. You're not obsessed with the same thing typically for decades on end. Some people are, but most aren't. But what ends up happening after that is Michael Phelps will always swim. He will always swim. Michael Jordan will always have some athletic performance pursuit. I know that he doesn't like actually specifically playing basketball, I think because he's super competitive and he doesn't like to lose. Most people will cool off their obsession into identity. It just becomes a part of them, right? Yeah, I used to be a competitive cyclist. Now I just bike on a weekend with my friends. Yeah, I used to be a podcaster for, you know, a decade, 2 decades. Now, you know, I speak publicly, or I do whatever. Like, it cools off into a part of your identity, but with less velocity. But this is me trying to counterbalance all of our shit talking that we've done about ambition so far. I think it's important because, you know, I know that Indian people are very ambitious and they're upward aiming, and I don't want to pull the rug out from underneath them. So this is for the people who are still on the drive. If you can't stop thinking about the pursuit that's in front of you, that means that you have the freest motivation and discipline that you're ever going to get, and it's not going to be there forever. If you can't not think about the business or the podcast or the partnership or the gym program, now is the time to let it crawl inside of you and wear you like a glove. You want to be puppeted by your obsessions, assuming they're good, not obsessions with your ex or politics or porn. If your obsession is something that's positive, and you've made the adjudication, this is something I should focus on, you are never going to be able to make progress with so little willpower. Like, you can't not do the thing. You're going to bed every single night thinking about the podcast, thinking about how I get the camera angles better, and I need to speak to this partner. I'd love to get this guest on, and who do I know that knows that person, and I need to change the thumbnail title, and You don't have to. There's no effort. And at some point in future, that's going to cool off. And you're going to have to use effort. And that is going to be a lot harder. So what you should do while you have an obsession, if it's pointing in the right direction, use it. Allow it to use you. Assuming that it's not negative, allow it to use you. It's the freest discipline and motivation you'll ever get. And then once it becomes a part of your identity, you kind of coast on that for the rest of your life. The same with the gym for me. Even sometimes my training's more dialed, sometimes it's less dialed, but I usually am training because I was obsessed with it for a decade and a half. And now it's good. It just takes over and it's nice and it's a part of me. And I think the same thing is true for most other obsessions as well.
True. I was speaking to one of the doctors who's an expert in addiction. And he said, obsession is just a better word for addiction.
That far off.
It's like everybody is addicted to something. People who don't understand what they're addicted to, they usually are driven towards substances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look.
And he's like, addiction is just like a nature. So everybody's addicted. Some call this addiction, and some very early on by some incident or an experience, they find some pursuit which becomes their obsession. That's actually just an addiction. And if you're going to take that thing away from them, they're either going to go mad or they're going to find a new thing to be obsessed with. It's not that they're obsessed being number one. It's just that they're obsessed. Obsession is the feeling that they're craving.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the conversation of becoming a GOAT. I think I like that for a little being,
okay.
Right? The ambition part that we're talking about, because we talked about how bad that is.
We shit on ambition for a bit. Let's make it good again.
We shat on it like quite a lot. So we should talk about the good side, because I think I talk a lot about ambition. I'm very, very obsessed, and I want, probably in an ideal world, everyone who's listening to this should be ambitious in whatever in whatever field. It can be just being ambitious with having the best relationship in the world,
of course,
or
being
best
the best
family
father,
in the world,
best mother.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or it can be just like materialistic things in the world.
Yep. Good. Go and get it all.
Right. So first was talking about GOAT. Why do you think everyone's name's Michael, man?
That's true. You know the
Michael Phelps, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, the actor now.
Yeah. You know the number one name for NBA players is Michael as well. An interesting one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, do you think arrogance is important to become the GOAT?
Oh yeah, I think a level of self-delusion is very important. Some people are driven by a lot of self-criticism, which is great because it causes you to pay a lot of attention. You need to really, really scrutinize, why am I speaking in that way? Why do I keep on using the word like as my filler words when I do a podcast? Or how come I interrupt a guest? Or I feel uncomfortable with silence, or I keep on offering up options when I ask a question, and I need to stop doing that. The level of scrutiny that you need to pay to your own performance. Michael Phelps obsessing over every inch of his stride and how he jumps off of the board, etc., etc. A lot of that comes from deep self-judgment and self-criticism. So it's good. But on the other side of that, you need to believe that you can do something that's never been done before. And the only way that you can do that is to kind of have a type of delusion where you go, this has never been done, or the incumbent champion is better than me and more highly regarded than me, and I'm going to beat them, but I haven't yet beaten them. That's nothing, that is at best confidence, but realistically delusion, right? Well-informed delusion. I think one of the best things that people can be is cultivated delusion would be a good way, because one of the problems that you have of overthinking too much is that you'll usually think your way out of things more than you think your way into things. It causes you to hesitate. It causes you to be a little bit more realistic. You don't want to be realistic. If you want 27-year-old, 28-year-old Chris to sit in front of you, I wasn't realistic about anything that I did. I wasn't realistic about trying to move to America and talk to people on the internet as a job. I wasn't realistic about trying to do these live tours as someone who's never done live before and see if I can sell out the largest venue, the largest theater in London, which was the Apollo. And we did that last year and we'll do it again this year, 3,500 people. That none of these things are realistic, but it's not blind confidence. It is a type of arrogance, I think, but it's also a degree of delusion. And I think strategic ignorance is probably another good thing that you can do, right? Strategic ignorance of not actually having to overthink it that much, just letting your foot off the gas. A good place to start.
You said 3 words. Explain each of them very nicely. You said cultivated delusion, right? Explain what is, because
Difference between straight up delusion and cultivated delusion would be you need to know where you can believe beyond your capacity. So it needs to be done in a manner that's conscious. Straight delusion causes you to become a crazy person, which you don't want. You know, so cultivating your delusion in this area, I'm going to allow my dreams to become boundless, but not around my health or my sleep or my partnership or whatever, right? Not around my finances. There's a few areas that we can guarantee you should not be delusional around, and your finances are one of them, right? Right? That's a bad idea, right? You become bankrupt, it's game over, right? It's a very, very bad idea. But in the ability of you to impact other people's lives, to grow very quickly, like these are things that are
good delusion.
yeah, cultivated.
Okay, so that's delusion, because I also believe I'm dreamy and delusional, and I believe everyone should have irrational optimism in at least one field in their life. Not
That's
like
cool.
every field. And one field,
Well,
you
that's
just,
the problem. You know, you have irrational optimism everywhere, and you're jumping off cliffs trying to fly.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who have tried that.
Yep.
So that's one. Second term was strategic arrogance.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Very similar, but that you don't want to be arrogant everywhere. You need to be a good operator behind the scenes. You know, let's take a sports star or a musician, right? You need to deal with the venues that you work with and the roadies that are supporting you or the referees at your game. You don't want to be, are you going to be arrogant with the people who are there to kind of make the thing that you do happen? No, that's a bad idea, right? You're a poor operator if you do that. But your arrogance with, I am better than these people. I am better than the estimations that everybody around me has, the limitations that I place on myself. You're basically overclocking your confidence would be a way to think about it, right? I'm just tuning up my confidence a little bit more than it is so that I push my limits further, so that I believe that I can do more than I can.
At what point do you think people's